President-elect Donald Trump confirmed this week that he planned to declare a national emergency and use the U.S. military to begin deporting millions of undocumented immigrants on day one of his administration. Using the U.S. military as a domestic police force is illegal under the Posse Comitatus Act, which prohibits the military from enforcing laws inside the country. More than 900,000 immigrants without proper papers live in Florida. By one estimate, more than a third of the state's agricultural workers and nearly a quarter of its construction workers are not U.S. citizens. This includes both lawful and undocumented immigrants. Additionally, many undocumented immigrants work in Florida's hotel, restaurant, and tourism industries. And joining us now to discuss is Dr. Teresita Matos-Post, the Executive Director of the Beth-El Farmworker Ministry in Wimauma in Hillsborough County. And Doctor, thanks for coming on the program.
Thank you for the invitation.
So any idea how many people who are undocumented live in our area, in the maybe Manatee, Polk, Hillsborough County area?
It's hard to quantify. As you know, being undocumented in Florida is not easy. So a lot of families go under the radar and are very skeptical about disclosing their immigration status. So it's really hard. And in the industry that we particularly work with in farm work, we have a lot of families that travel and move quite often. So it's very difficult to quantify.
Would you imagine thousands of people?
For sure.
Yeah. So what are they saying to you when you meet them and they've heard this information that incoming President Trump plans to deport undocumented immigrants? What do they say to you?
Yeah, to give a sense, all of us have neighbors who are undocumented, so that gives us a little bit of a sense of who is part of the fabric of our communities. What we're hearing from families in our community, particularly, is a lot of fear and uncertainty. I don't use this word often, but a sense of terror in the sense of imagining what would it look like for them to pick up their roots and leave family members behind, and not knowing when or where and the resources necessary to make those transitions if they choose, if they're forced or choose to move. So yeah, a lot of fear. And also last week in conversations with some neighbors, there was a sense of what I would call helplessness, kind of like, well, if it comes and it happens, we will deal with it when it happens. I've been here for a long time, raising our kids. Our kids are well, they went to school and are working. That was our dream for them. So if we have to go back, we will. But obviously it's not the first choice and what they would envision for themselves, being separated from their loved ones.
And speaking of kids, the children of undocumented immigrants who are born here are U.S. citizens, but the czar, who's in charge of deporting these people, told 60 Minutes the other day that he's going to deport not just undocumented immigrants, but he's going to deport the children who are U.S. citizens. What do you make of that?
I'm the only word that I have for that is inhumane. Just the idea of what children that are listening to these news might be feeling in terms of not knowing, what will happen to their parents or grandparents, and that their network of support will be broken, and the uncertainty of their safety into the future is not something you want American citizen children to grow up with. So that piece is heartbreaking, to say the least.
So have some immigrants left the country already in anticipation that they might be deported? Have you seen any evidence of that?
We've seen for sure immigrant families leave the state for sure, especially since the bill was enacted last July 1st. And so it's in people's purview, and it's in people's possibilities. The challenge is when you've been here for 20 or 30 years, many families don't have anywhere to go back to. Their country of origin is no longer the home they recall. Their communities are not the same. and maybe they don't have relatives waiting for them. That imagination of going back is something that, unless you've been through that, you can comprehend. That basically, if you're deported and sent back after being here for so many years, working and laboring and being part of this community, you're not going back to you're not going back home. You're going back to a country you no longer recognize.
And of course, if you were born here and you speak only English, you're not going to know the domestic language when you go back home.
That's for sure. I mean, it's about culture, it's about food, it's about the lifestyle. It's challenging. I was speaking with a mother last month, and she was saying that one of the reasons she raised her children eating the food that she grew up with was in the event that they would be deported, that they would not have culture shock, that they would eat the food from their country of origin. So just thinking about the ways in which families here in the United States raising their children have to think about these things is something that we don't have access to on a daily basis.
So the last question is, what industries do these undocumented immigrants work in? And you know, some Americans say, well, if we deport these people, Americans will come in and take these jobs and take over, and they'll work in the industries where undocumented people are right now. Very unlikely.
Very unlikely. You know, in the ministry that we work with, most of the immigrant communities work in farm work, in the heat, picking fruits and vegetables, not working with a pay rate, just by how much they pick. So it's an uncertain income. It's hard work. It's hard labor. Very unlikely that the average American citizen who is able to get other means of income would look that way. We see families that work in construction. I mean, think about any hard labor outdoors. This is the work that they're doing. The service industry, you know, cleaning homes, all those types of jobs that many families rely on. The workforce comes from the immigrant community and will be affected.
Well, Dr. Teresita Matos-Post, thank you for coming on Florida This Week.
Thank you for the invitation.